إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Rahimak Allah. May Allah shower His mercy on you. So the next word, i'lam rahimak Allah. He means may Allah shower His mercy on you so you can achieve what you seek. May Allah shower His mercy on you so you can achieve what you seek. That's the meaning of it. It means may Allah grant you mercy to achieve all that is good for you and to keep you away from that which is evil. That's what He means when He says Rahimak Allah. It means may Allah forgive your past. Rahimak Allah means may Allah forgive your past. May Allah protect and guide you for your future. These are all meanings of Rahimak Allah. If you combine or couple Rahimak Allah and Ghafara lak, Maghfirah and Rahmah, Maghfirah is mercy, Maghfirah is forgiveness, and mercy is Rahmah. If you combine them together, each one would have a meaning. If they are combined, then Maghfirah is that which was of prior sins. If they're combined in one sentence. And Maghfirah is what was of prior sins. And Rahmah is the safety and harm and effect and punishment from future sins. If they are separated, Maghfirah and Rahmah, it entails the meaning of the other. So if Maghfirah is by itself, it means Rahmah as well. If it's Rahmah by itself, it means Maghfirah. If Maghfirah is in a sentence alone, it entails the meaning of Rahmah in it. They encompass each other's meanings when they're separate, when they're in separate sentences. So Maghfirah means Rahmah, and Rahmah means Maghfirah if they're separate. That's similar, the rule here is similar to the usage of Islam and Iman in a sentence. Islam is 3 levels: Islam, Iman, and Ihsan. Okay. We have Islam and Iman. Allah said in the Quran, Inna ad-deena 'inda Allah al-Islam, for example. Islam is mentioned here alone without Iman. So here it includes within it Iman and Ihsan. It includes Iman in it. It's mentioned alone in the sentence. In another verse, Iman is mentioned alone. قالت الأعراب آمنا. It's mentioned, Iman is mentioned alone. So Iman here includes Islam and Ihsan in it. If they are mentioned, Iman and Ihsan, Islam and Iman, if they're mentioned together in one sentence, then each word entails a different meaning. If only one of them is mentioned, then each one encompasses the meaning of the other. You see that rule? Same applies with our situation here. Maghfirah and Rahmah. Next point. Do you say Rahimak Allah to a non-Muslim? Over here he said Rahimak Allah because he's trying to teach. If you're going out to give da'wah, do you go tell a Muslim, a non-Muslim, you're giving da'wah, may Allah have mercy on you, or any non-Muslim for that matter, a relative or any non-Muslim? Let me say this. Number one, there's no difference of opinion among scholars that one cannot pray for forgiveness and mercy for a non-Muslim who dies in that status, a kafir. You can't make dua for him, may Allah have mercy on him. In Nawawi said, in Al-Majmu' in the 5th volume, there's an ijma', there's a consensus on this. Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, said, there's an ijma' on this that is prohibited, and that's in the 12th volume of Al-Fatawa. As to one who is alive, if one is alive, there is some comments on this, and let me clear it up. When a modernist or ignorant reads it in some of the old books, he'll say, look, so-and-so said it's okay to make dua with mercy to a kafir that's living. And then they might even tag on it a kafir who's dead too, the way the speed, at the rate they're going. That's a reason to show knowledge must be taught by shuyukh. Because sometimes you're going to see in a book, for example, the word makruh, dislike. In some shuyukh, some ulama consider what they say dislike haram. But you always use dislike. And how would you know that if someone didn't tell you, as a principle of this sheikh, he said dislike? Imagine reading adultery, fornication is disliked, or alcohol is disliked. What that sheikh means has a rule, dislike is haram. One thing is for sure, supplication is meant to be understood if you're asking for a non-Muslim, that Allah guides them. Supplication of rahmah. Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar mentioned this in his explanation in Fath al-Bari, the 11th volume. He said, in summary, this is the summary, and I'm going to give it to you, and this is the best summary. You can pray for a non-believer in guidance, and if you choose to pray for him in mercy, it must be with the intention that mercy means guidance. So basically, if your intention is to say Rahimahullah to a non-Muslim who's living, your intention better be 100% that Rahimahullah, meaning may Allah have mercy on him to guide him. It better be that, and it can't be no other than that. Better to say just may Allah, just make it clear. May Allah guide him. May Allah guide them. Or if you do choose to say Rahman, it's not the best of the two opinions, then you say it with the intention of Allah guiding. Badr al-Din al-Aini in Umdat al-Qari, which is an interpretation of Sahih al-Bukhari, commented on a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, Allahumma aghfir liqawmi la ya'lamun. The Prophet made supplication that Allah forgive his people where they were non-believers. He said that's to forgive his people. He said it, the Prophet ﷺ said it when they were harming him and oppressing him. Badr al-Din says that means to grant them guidance to Islam, which will cause them to be forgiven if they do become Muslim. So you have to understand what the ulama are talking about. The next point, Rahimak Allah. Why did he say Rahimak Allah? Why did he say I'lam Rahimak Allah? This was a trend used by wise, knowledgeable ulama. They used these kind of sayings. He made dua for one who is learning and listening to him. He's making dua for one who might read his book in the future. This is a big lesson that one who conveys the message must be merciful and compassionate to those who he conveys his message to. He must show those he is teaching that he wants guidance for them. Sometimes they think you don't want guidance for them. You got to show them that you're trying to take them from darkness to a bright life. A da'iyah opens the hearts with a smile. That's the key to a heart. With a nice compliment. Could be a nice compliment, a word, or putting your hand on his back. Some act as today as if it's awrah to show your teeth. They think that it's awrah to show your teeth. That's the reality. Don't laugh. Some people are like that. Da'wah is wisdom and being gentle and kind. You need the keys. You can't enter without rahmah to people. Allah tells His Prophet, and He's the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. If you, Muhammad, were harsh and hard-hearted, they would have dispersed and left you. That's the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So imagine anyone other than him. وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَانْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. A da'iyah must be like Allah said about the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ حَرِيصٌ عَلَيْكُمْ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ. Man who's merciful with you, who's compassionate with you, who's worried about you, who's concerned for you, who's eager to give you the best. Here the author is speaking to people at a time when people were deep in their ignorance and their bid'ah and their shirk, and the worshiping of the graves was widespread and common, and it's exceptional to be on the right path. A knowledgeable is wise and knows the truth is somewhat tough. The truth is tough sometimes. It's hard to absorb it, especially when their parents and great-grandparents have been raised on it. It's hard to absorb the truth. The truth is difficult in itself. As a da'iyah with wisdom, you don't combine a tough attitude with a tough da'wah. You want two toughnesses? At least work with the tough da'wah itself. Don't add to it your attitude. Some learn a couple hadith, wear a snot on their face, and run around declaring people kuffar and khawarij and everything you can think of. In Tariq Baghdad, Hussein al-Karabisi was a philosophist mubtadi', or one who resorted to mental rationalization. Al-Shafi'i went to visit Baghdad. Al-Karabisi heard about him. People are going all over to visit him. Al-Karabisi told his friends, let's go visit Al-Shafi'i. He's a philosophist. You know, they're eloquent when they talk because they have no knowledge of Quran Hadith. They use their talk. So he said, let's go visit Shafi'i and make fun of him. Everyone's gathered there, so Al-Karabisi goes there, and with his outspoken way of asking questions, they ask Shafi'i. Shafi'i knows what they're doing, knows people are there. He could have kicked them out. He could have told a couple of his students, take them out of here. He could have incited the people to take him out, but he stood silent, he stood patient, and began to answer them with Quran after hadith, after sayings of the, until he mesmerized them with his knowledge and his manners. You know what they said, the philosophers and these mubtadi' and those who resorted to mental rationalization? They said, we left our bid'ah and followed the Shafi'i. They went to make fun of him. He could have done anything he wanted, but he was patient. Allah guided with him some big imams of his time. You see what it does? He had the key to the heart. He had wisdom in conveying the message. That's why the other verses I said, وَلُوطًا آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا وَلَمَّا بَلَغَ أَشُدَّهُ وَاسْتَوَى آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا. Wisdom is just as essential as knowledge. And that's what he says here. Rahimak Allah is part of the wisdom of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. That's how you capture the hearts and the minds. Rahimak Allah. Even if you disagree with them and they're Muslim, Rahimak Allah. Take this. Humble yourself. Lower your wing to them. You know who is saying Rahimak Allah? The man who for over 200 years is still till today, for over 200 years being a bad mouth. The dust of the attacks from the storm of reviving the Quran and the Sunnah of his time, Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, the dust it generated hasn't settled till today. People still accuse him and talk about him. Having said that, can you just imagine with me what the attacks were like to him when he was in his peak? If it's still going on till today? Yet with all that going on, he uses Rahimak Allah, where his opponents are going to be reading his leaflets and letters that he's going to pass out. A da'iyah needs to have a smile on his face with the proper manners, and he needs to be pleasant and delight for people to approach and communicate. That's the true da'iyah, and that's a characteristic of a successful da'iyah. I'lam Rahimak Allah. A smile might open many hearts to your message. Rahimak Allah. Rahimak Allah, I'm concerned about you. I want you to learn this. In Sahih Muslim, لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا ولو أن تلقى أخاك بوجه طلق. Don't minimize the reward of anything, even if it's merely to greet your brother with a smile. Even if it's to smile in your brother's face. Jarir ibn Abdullah said in Sahih al-Bukhari and Muslim, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam never seen me but smiled in my face. وَلَا رَآنِي إِلَّا تَبَسَّمَ فِي وَجْهِ. This was the Prophet who we were ordered to follow, whether he smiles to us or frowns at us, whether he conveys this message soft-toned or harsh-toned. No one is ordered to follow me and you. So convey the message in wisdom and good manners, in a pleasant and delayed way. I'lam Rahimak Allah. Abdullah ibn al-Harith said in a hadith in Sunan Tirmidhi, ما رأيت أحدا أكثر تبسما من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. The companion saying, I never seen anyone smile more than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you imagine that? A brother greets a brother with a smile. A sister greets her sister with a smile, or a kind word, or a pat on the back, or an embrace. A key to open the heart. A true smile. A quick smile that slowly fades. Not those fake ones that come slowly and vanish real fast. Those are the fake ones. A sign and a characteristic of a munafiq is a sharp tongue with a frown to the believers, and the opposite to the non-believers. سَلَقُوكُمْ بِأَلْسِنَةٍ حِدَادٍ أَشِحَّةً عَلَى الْخَيْرِ. They sharpen their tongues and yield them on you. أشداء على الكفار رحماء بينهم. The opposite of that is a trait of the munafiqeen. A da'i is a doctor. He deals with the hearts and souls spiritually, not physically. You don't open the heart and play around with it, the physical muscle itself. You deal with them spiritually. So you have to know how to properly open them. You have to find the key to convey the message. Like I said, it's a harsh da'wah in itself. Don't combine to it your harshness. People are humans. Sometimes you need to praise them to win their hearts. نعم الرجل عبد الله. The Prophet ﷺ was teaching Abdullah something. When he taught Mu'adh bin Jabal, اللهم أعني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. The one we say after Salah. Do you think the Prophet ﷺ just came to Mu'adh and said, you say this after Salah? He took Mu'adh. He said, إني أحبك يا Mu'adh. I love you, Mu'adh. Can you imagine how his heart is? فلا تدعن أن تقول دبر كل صلاة اللهم إني على ذكرك وشكرك وحسن عبادتك. The Prophet commands Ibn Umar, then corrects him to pray the night prayer. The Prophet ﷺ praises and then encourages. That's the path of the wise and righteous and successful dua.